Hello people, I'm gonna go in a little bit more depth and I'll post a couple of photos. I'll probably interrupt right in the middle and add in a screenshot. I've already took two, but I'm out here with a bike now and I'll have to do that in the house while I'm editing. What I want to do is go over some of the wiring on this for some people that's using this controller but they've got it for a different item. And also I'll throw a couple extra things in, which I think I mostly did on my other video, just specifically about my bike. And I'm happy to see my motor is just fine. Okay, all right. Now, those of you that don't know, soft start is actually, well, let's say for example you don't have soft start on an electric motor. Well, that electric hub motor is going to do what it's designed to do, and if you slam that throttle, it's going to give it all the beans, all at once, right then and there, all the torque. So if you're on gravel, well, those of you that have been on bicycles and motorcycles and etc., when you do that in gravel or wet grass, you know what happens. Soft start tries to eliminate that problem. Now, soft start is an external feature that's in this controller, and this is a Votol 100 knockoff. In other words, it is not branded for Votol. The label on the controller, and let's just throw in there too, it's actually backwards from a Votol, because the connectors will actually be over here and the positive and ground would be reversed. But as far as the phase wires, they are the same. So the label on the controller is here. You can pause that, read over it if you want. But what gave it away is they're actually calling it a EM 100. So, I was like, wait a minute. Votol is the one that uses the EM phrase and then the current. So I started looking at the Votol 100 and it is not the same. So this thing is actually based on the Votol actual brand name. All this mess of wires has got to do with reverse and alarm and meter. These two are supposed to be the meter. One of them's like a phase line, and then the other is power for the meter, which I think is actually the pink line. And I'll post a photo. I was looking through and doing some comparing. And it seems like the photo that I found for the wiring diagram, it makes the most sense. So, back to soft start. This is your soft start. You short these together, just plug them up together, and that enables soft start internally in the controller. And what it does, it literally soft starts. You gun it, you don't get all the torque for a second or two. It's safer, unless you'd rather have all the torque all at once. And people, whoever does that, I hope you're not where you're going to lose the rear end. The purple line, that is high brake. Whatever you're doing, this line will take 12 volts from the brake to cut the controller off while you're braking. Best I can tell, there is no regeneration in this thing at all. As far as rotation speed on my hub motor for 5K, it seems to be doing pretty decent. But it would do better if it had more power and programmable. Alright, next, the green lines. Alright, the green lines specifically, they are, hold on just a minute, I'll probably have to edit this out. I've got the bike still on. I need to jump a wire in. That runs off the switch. Now, I haven't tested this yet, but from that wiring diagram that I got, the green wire is going to act as an e-stop. So, let me unplug it somehow. One-handed. Push the clip, pull it apart. Now, let's see if it stops. Yes, that is a e-stop. So, anybody that's going to use this controller and wants to put a e-stop on whatever they're using, that cuts the controller off. See, giving it throttle, got nothing, no noise. Plug it back up. And I pulled that wire out again. And there you go. Green wires connected together. It is working. Personally, I'm running a 5,000 watt. Anybody that's watching this video and don't know what I have here, if you've watched some of my other videos, you know it's an Evator. It's a 2020 model. I've upgraded it to a 5,000 watt motor from 2000. Got rid of the lead acid batteries. I'm running two 21S batteries, 88.2 volts. So to me, soft start is going to be a good idea. And that's plugging the two white wires together. And this I don't need, so I'm going to have to leave that together. I've got my own e-stop up at the throttle on this bike. Your hall sensor, folks, it's probably going to be a crapshoot if you get this big plug for your halls on the motor. I got the one that was a generic Molex 6-pin connector. I had to change it because I do not want to impact anything on this bike, and I can pretty much just plug and go when I get my replacement controller. This one I'm using to test with. That's it. And when I get my new one in on the 28th of this month, I'm taking this one out and putting the 150 back in it. Alright, back to the wiring. You got a 3-pin connector that's coming out of here. The wire coloring, gray, black, and yellow. I think there's a green stripe on that too. This is off the harness from the controller itself. That is your speed selector. If you're running a speed selector switch, make sure it's wired correctly. If it's wired backwards, what will happen is center will be no control whatsoever. And then your speed variance could actually be backwards, or you've only got one speed control when there should be 3. Low, medium, and high. So you've got to make sure what happens is it runs the controller to ground on one pin or the other. Center does nothing, so that would be speed 2. And then off to the other side would be high speed, and the other side of that would be low speed. This line with the big connector, that is waiting for 12 volts to go into it for high brake. This thing is supposed to be low brake compatible too, but I'm not going there because my bike is high brake, and this is the wire I need. The other wire, if you and this got me because I stared at the wiring diagram. I'm like, what in the crap is all this? Oh God, I gotta think. But anyway, they called this an orange wire. Whoever did that diagram, they're colorblind. But to be fair, I did get the diagram from a different seller, and it's been pretty much spot on. So this wire has a ring terminal. This goes to your switch. This has to have 72 volts going into it to trigger the controller. And this, for the controller to turn on, has to be plugged up. The high brake function, well, you put 12 volts into it on the brake lever, and it cuts the motor controller off as a safety feature, so it overrides the throttle and basically disables it. There's other ways to do that because the bike has its own e-stop, so I'll not go there. Now, I've already went over the hall plug. You may or may not get the large plug. Let's hope you do. Even though that is not, I don't even know what that connector's name is. But I did have one, and I harvested from a Sabaton 50 amp, I believe it was a 50 amp controller, and I had put this pigtail on there, right here. Took it off to put it on this so I can make it usable and not have to impact anything on the bike. And let's see. Yeah, the ring terminal one, don't forget, this has got to have 72 volts going to it. It's your positive cable. And then your throttle. Right here. Coming off the controller. This was a 3-pin connector. I had to change it over to this. It wasn't this, it was a 3-pin Molex. So heads up there, that's what you'll get. And folks, when you hook your throttle up, make sure the polarity is correct, because there is a positive and ground on these. And if you hook it up backwards, your throttle may not forgive you. And running down, this is the adapter that I made to go to my bike. And that, well, that's extra waiting for the high brake connector. I've still got to work on it. But anyway, that's pretty much got it covered. Don't forget, when you get it, your throttle is going to be a 3-pin Molex connector. That was changed. And also, one way to tell if it's throttle or not, it will have a red line coming out of it going into the Molex connector. Red and black. That's your throttle. That feeds your voltage to the hall sensors that's in the throttle. And then the green wire coming out of it is your sensor wire. Now your speed coming out of the controller, yes, 3-pin Molex. It does have a ground, and then 2 other lines coming out of it. That will be your speed selector. And then of course your battery positive, also battery ground, your 3-phase wires. If by chance you get this controller and hook it up to whatever object that you are hooking it up to, and it goes in reverse, switch the yellow and blue on the controller, and also switch the wires yellow and blue, clip them and reverse them. They have to match. There's no way around it. And once you do that, it'll start running in reverse. Now, as you can see, the yellow is here, green, blue. You take these, you swap them over, and then you switch to blue and yellow here, and you're good to go. It should switch to the other direction. There's no way to program this controller. It's not made to program, so you got to do it the manual way. As far as the quality of it, it don't seem too shabby. I mean, they tried to do silicone to make it waterproof and gave it a little rubber connector thing here, and they even tried to silicone the hall plug. There it is, kind of a slack off job, but at least there's silicone there, and it's got a rubber boot on it, so that's okay. Most likely this bike will never see water up that high. Plus it sits underneath. The controller will actually sit underneath the storage, aka gas tank. Since this thing don't use gas, it's nothing but a storage compartment, but it looks like a gas tank. It's right there. Dirty? Yes. But it's been sitting in the building since last year. I've only hit it out a couple of times this season because of the motor controller going bad. So folks, that is all about the EM100. You really don't need the other wires. I mean, if you've got like a go-kart type thing that you're using this controller for, you may want to use reverse. Quite honestly, I don't care about reverse. It's a motorcycle. What motorcycle has reverse? Although it would be a perk, possibly, but don't care. But yeah, reverse. That diagram will show the cable that's for reverse. I actually forgot which one it is. I think it's one of these two. Here, it's either this one or this one. But that wire diagram will tell you. And basically, all you got to do is short the wires, give it a throttle, and then the wheel starts spinning the opposite direction. But it's going to be limited speed. Not full speed, limited. So, I mean, if you get a motor that's going in reverse on whatever you're using it for and think short those two pins out for reverse, you're most likely going to be going pretty slow. And then it's also got an alarm, what they call wheel lock. I'd rather not use that at all because that seems like it'd be a little risky on making the batteries dead. Anyway, okay. Yeah, I already went over these. That's for your meter. And then the phase line. Purple is 12 volt for high brake. This controller is also low brake compatible. But, you know, like I said, I'm not going to go there. But in case you want to know, yes. Alright. I'm done. That is all about the EM100 wiring diagram. I've explained it. Now, I'll post some photos for it sometime within this video and let you know where I got it from. Yes, it was eBay, and it took a week to get it. So, anyway, people, have a good one.